It's another great and wonderful day to live, to be alive, to even be dead while living. Honestly, today's video, we're going to talk about, because I had a teaching. It was crazy. I'm just like, my mind is blown how this happened, because it was lagging through the live, but if you missed a live, this will be the teaching as well. But when it comes down to infinite loops of consciousness, infinite thought process of consciousness, we got to understand that we are going to infinitely be inside of our mind when we leave outside of our mind. And what I mean by that is, I mean that when we were born, we're coming into our mind physically through our mother. And by this happening, we're able to now sense to the fact that we have to be guided and protected and nurtured and cherished by our parents or by our parent figures. And once we begin to do that, we begin to now see for ourselves that, you know what, okay, I'm protected, I'm nurtured by my parents love me, etc., etc. And so once we begin to figure out that we're protected, now most people don't have that certain protection, so it's like they're not going to really be able to escape their subconscious mind, because subconsciously it's raining on top of me in the water. But basically they're subconsciously not able to really comprehend protection, because they're not protected by their own protection inside their household. So they will come back into this infinite loop, because now if they aren't taught outside their own program, then that means that they'll be programmed by a higher program that their parents were programmed, because that higher program was programmed by a higher programmer. So now your parents are under a higher programmer's program, and because of that, they are not going to be able to teach you how to escape outside of your infinite thoughts, because you're always overthinking, even when you do go into the afterlife. So now once you're able to reach the Christ consciousness, the Christ consciousness is basically the consciousness that Yeshua or Jesus, the figurine or the title that was placed upon a character in this world, their consciousness, they were able to reach God's frequency. That's all it is, God's frequency. Once you're able to reach God's frequency, then you're able to literally comprehend your own divinity. And then this is when you can escape your own divinity by entering it again. And once you begin to enter it, now you begin to leave the infinite illusion of what Satan's, or say the satanic frequency that we keep coming back to, because it's all we know, it's all we're used to. And the thing is, who taught us that? Our mom and dad and our celestial perception of our family. And this is exactly why we keep getting stuck, because we're constantly stuck inside of ourselves, because we're too full of ourselves. We're too busy not understanding what simulations are. We're too busy worried about he say, she say. We're not ever going within. We're not ever finding out answers within ourselves, because we're too fixated on, man, somebody said this about me, so this pissed me off, or I don't like what was said about this, or I don't like the way this was that. So it's like, we got so many titles, we got so many egos out here, to the point to where it's like, it doesn't make any type of sense of why we allow thoughts to make us feel a certain way. If you let somebody's opinion make you feel a certain way, that shows you how enslaved you are to their thought process. So it's like, if higher beings that are called Satan and Lucifer, if they are programming you to believe that death exists, then you will always believe that spell. So now imagine how many people actually believe death exists. Imagine how many people actually believe that I'm in water right now. And I told them I'm actually not in water, but I'm swimming inside of myself, or I'm swimming inside of my celestial mother or my father. In duality, they be like, nigga, that sound weird. That don't make no goddamn sense. It shouldn't make sense, because it's not common anymore to understand that you are the elements. So I'm basically swimming in my own element. So I am water. So I'm basically touching myself. And by that happening too, it's like, okay, once we keep transcending consciousness, now you begin to understand that too. When you are at the consciousness of Yeshua or Jesus or Satan, now you begin to start questioning where you are going in the afterlife, because you can't speak for yourself. Your spirit has to speak for you. So once your spirit speaks for you, now you are able to literally comprehend the uncomprehendable, because then you begin to see for yourself, like, okay, now I'm in the afterlife. Now my spirit, because it has to be stained with light. That's a duality. So once you're able to transcend darkness, because darkness keeps you in power, darkness keeps you stuck as well though. But once you transcend that and you remove the veil of illusions and you begin to start eluding your own light, then you begin to transcend light. And once you master both light and darkness, you find peace within, because you're both wrong, right and wrong. And now once you come to terms with that, you begin to see that once it is dark in the afterlife, you are basically seeing yourself in the afterlife. And by you seeing yourself in the afterlife, you're basically getting a picture in your mind, like, okay, so basically what I was told on earth was not true, because nobody knew what they were talking about, because it's a stage. So by it being a stage, you're basically now seeing for yourself, like, okay, I'm in the afterlife. So basically after my life, I have more thoughts of my afterlife. After my life, I have more thoughts of my afterlife, because once again, you're not speaking English. You have to have a balance of spirituality and love and empathy, basically, because basically your spirit is speaking through love. So if you were operating at hate, what will your projection show the Almighty Creator on Judgment Day, which doesn't even exist because we're all getting judged every single day. You can't make this stuff up. So now once we truly begin to find out what judgment is, now we begin to see like, oh, okay, I'm being judged. So now it's like a tape recorder. It's like an observation from a higher observer or observers, meaning that these observers been recording us because we are basically recording ourselves through them. That's exactly why phones were made, because phones are basically a mockery of what higher observers were recording basically, and they watch our recordings on the internet. It's like why social media was made, to keep up with the thought process of experiments called human beings. And that's all projections, or that's all life is, nothing but a holographic example of what you don't want to get into. But the thing is though, even if you don't want to get into it, you're still going to get into it because you can't escape yourself. So it's like you're going right back into a computer program. So even when you leave here, it's like, okay, to not come back here, you have to transcend hate. So it's like once you love to hate and you hate to love, it's like, okay, now you're using logic. So you begin to move with love, even though you hate loving on certain aspects in life, and that's okay. But you have a balance of that. And once you have the balance of that, now you begin to master the afterlife balance of consciousness, and you begin to start seeing and healing yourself way beyond your own divinity. And as you're doing that, now you begin to start going to different realms of thought processes. Once you are grasping the term of divinity, once you're basically so divine to the point to where you die divine, now you're going to go into the afterlife. You can change whatever form you want. You can be any deity that you want. You can be in any landmark you want. You can be in a different realm if you want. You can be in the higher heavens. You can be in the lower planes of existence. You can be in an underwater realm if you want to. So you will basically be a real life Aquaman if you want to. You can be a alien if you want to call it that. You can transcend from a different Stargate portal. You can come in through the ocean, and then you can come on land and start being like a human being again if you want to do that. You can work for the government. You can be anything you want. But the thing is, in order for you to get that, you have to be able to transcend the human comprehensional human thoughts. Because if you have a human thought, you'll say like, oh, this is just nothing. Like, this life is just, hey, we work and then we die and that's it. We just do it again. That's not reality to God. And what's crazy, it doesn't even make sense. It's a program. It's meant to keep you enslaved. It's meant to keep you sleep and unconscious within your own poison, because we are poisoning ourselves unconsciously, because subconsciously we're so fixated, we're not able to freely think outside of our own box. So you're not able to freely think outside your own box. You will always care about what people think about you, but who gives a fuck? Because I got many people around me who probably are listening, who probably are getting in tune, but it's like at the end of the day though, I don't care, because it's like they can't use common sense to comprehend sense that doesn't even make sense. And even too with infinity is like an 8. If you put an 8 sideways, that's basically you going into your infinite self. Once you find your infinite self, you'll be able to find out that spiritually you know everything through infinity. So there's no need for you to hate. There's no need for you to be jealous. There's no need for you to be mad or upset on the life that you don't have, because you do have it. But you have to remember how you got it in order to have it, because once you begin to have it, now you begin to find out that you've been having it. So you will always have it. And two, once you're always having, now you begin to find out that you can infinitely do whatever you want. So from an infinity standpoint, you are always going to be an infinite consciousness, meaning that no matter what, you cannot escape death. You cannot escape yourself. So once you do escape yourself physically, you still come back into yourself physically, because we are all energy. So by us being energy, for example, this water right here is an energetic being right here, or physical being. And so think about it. I'm basically swimming in a physical body or physical embodiment. That's basically me and myself. But this thing has a spirit. This thing has consciousness. So because of that, it's like, okay, so now I'm swimming inside of the thoughts of what we'll call the ocean, what we'll call a beach, like body of water. It's like the element. And as we are swimming in different elements, now we're going into ourselves, because we're basically thinking to ourselves, like, you know what? There's more to life out here, because don't forget, you transcend divinity now. So once you transcend divinity, you can be able to question your own questioning thoughts, because your ego can't question itself outside of its own thoughts. So now it's just like, okay, there's more to life. So what is expected out of me? A lot and a little, because a little is still a lot. So a little means that, for one, you just have to find love. You have to be able to love on hating or hatred, because we're always going to be placed in the hatred realm no matter where you go, because they'll always find out who you are. Oh, it's raining. Yeah, I'm about to go ahead and go back to the ship. But I don't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to go ahead and just drop some knowledge for y'all. Just make sure that y'all always find yourself, always find peace, always love yourself, always stay blissful. And always remember too, if I can do it, so can you. I just want to be a living example, a living testimony of what Yeshua was teaching, because what was he actually teaching? He was teaching nothing but common sense, which was not common anymore, and they killed him for that. I love y'all so much. Have a great, wonderful day. Stay blissful.